All right, so this is a male feminist tries to confront Myron for contradiction. He instantly regrets it. Let's see what exactly his misogynistic perspective is. We're going to break this down so you can also defend yourself against men like this and educate some of them if you happen to run across some open-minded men who have unfortunately been deceived by a lot of these narratives that are old school patriarchal defenses.
What's up, man?
Hey, nice to meet you, Myron.
You.
I had a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, I think you contradict yourself a decent amount.
Sure.
You had mentioned that you wanted to repeal the 19th Amendment, and then
Yep.
your reasoning for that was that women don't have skin in the game.
Yep.
However, when someone had mentioned if your thoughts would change if women did have skin in the game, for example, that they would be accepted into the draft, you said that you wouldn't want women in the military.
You weren't listening. I said that if they had some type of government service or whatever, then obviously, I think at that point, then yeah, them being able to vote would make sense because they have skin in the game.
Okay.
But in general, most women don't have skin in the game, so that's why I don't think most of them should be able to vote. I think for men, it's given. For women, they have to earn it to vote.
Don't you think instead of repealing the 19th Amendment, it would make more sense to let women get this skin in the game, these government services?
Well, the problem is that a lot of the times they don't. Women overwhelmingly choose career fields that, are social in nature, right? They don't necessarily deal with certain job fields that the government might require.
But you don't promote them either. Like,
I'm sorry?
You don't promote this. Like, why isn't this part of your platform?
Why do women choose these careers?
Why don't you promote women not choosing these careers and instead choosing government services?
I do. Well, here's the thing. I do, but the reality is that women just are interested in different things than men a lot of the times. So what ends up happening is like they just choose certain career fields because that's what they want to do. Because we're inherently and biologically different.
Okay, then my...
Inherently and biologically different, he might be pushing eugenics, but he might be pushing a lot of other agendas, so he's pushing again thin ice. Be careful with this because he's leaving it very open-ended.
The other contradiction I wanted to point out was that you complain a lot about women not being smart. You say they're dumb. And then you say that they should limit their education because their primary role should be in the family.
You're totally mischaracterizing every single position I've given. I don't think you've been listening.
Could you elaborate then?
Yeah. What I said was I don't think women should be prioritizing education over the pursuit of a man and a family. That's what I said.
So they should still be educated?
I'm sorry?
They should still be educated.
Look, I don't have, like I said before, I don't have a problem with them, attending school and having some kind of backup. But the problem is that that becomes the primary focus. That's my problem with it.
Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was how I'm not trying to mischaracterize your argument, so...
Yeah, it's okay. It'll only be the third or fourth
Correct me
time.
if I'm wrong. You had said that women who are promiscuous, that's the reason that they deserve less, because they're slutty
Absolutely.
and they sleep around.
Never wife up whores.
So would you agree that people who don't do that don't deserve less?
Women that aren't promiscuous?
Yeah.
So regular
just
girls?
as much as men, yeah.
Yeah, they still deserve less too.
They still,
Yeah, they still deserve less too. And the reason why I say this is because I don't want guys to fall into the trap and be a simp. Look, this is going to sound fucked up, but I'm going to say it. Women are terrible fucking people when they have leverage over you in a romantic relationship. I'm going to say that again. Women are terrible fucking people when they have leverage over you in a relationship. I'll give you an example. Let's say you move in with a girl, right? You're staying at her spot, you're crashing there, whatever. You're not paying any of the rent, she's trying to help you out, whatever. As the days progress, she's going to become more annoyed, more bitchy, and agitated with you. Rightfully so, because women don't respond favorably to lazy men, okay? Because their attraction circuitry is based around a guy that can provide security. You sleeping on her couch every day is inherently going to turn her off. Now, let's flip the roles. Let's say you have an apartment and she crashes at your spot, right? Are you going to get as annoyed with her as quickly? Probably not, because men have far more tolerance for creating resources for women and children than women do, right? Like, men are designed to create excess resources, not just for themselves, but for their family. Women aren't built that way. So, and this is something that a lot of guys don't understand. And they buy into this egalitarian mindset that men and women are the same. They're not, dude, at all.
And where are you getting this information from?
It's a biological reality.
You think women are just naturally less tolerant to putting up with people's stuff?
Yes, women are far less tolerant of incompetent men that can't produce and protect and provide. Yes.
Do you have any studies for that?
What was that?
Do you have any studies for that, or you're just pulling that out of the
I mean, it's a biological fact. You can countless psychology books on this. Women prioritize security, right? And men prioritize replication. So women prioritize survival value from the guy. Can he protect and provide for me? And then men prioritize replication value. Is she hot? Very simple.
But it was nice
I mean, let's be honest here, dude. When you're out with a girl, if she tells you, if you meet a girl and she's like, you ask her, hey, what do you do for work? And she says, oh, I'm unemployed or I'm homeless. Like, are you really gonna give a shit? No, she's hot. You're gonna still try to bang her. But if you flip the roles, and you tell her you're homeless, she's gonna lose an enormous amount of attraction for you.
I hope that most men wouldn't want to marry someone who's unemployed.
You're missing my point.
But
Like,
I'm not. I think it applies to both sides.
What I'm trying to say is that your ability to provision is a large part of what makes you attractive, and a woman's ability to provision, we don't give a shit. No guy ever says, "What's your degree?" "Oh, you got a master's? My dick is hard." No guy ever. No one cares.
It was nice talking to you.
Hey, it's the truth, man.
He left because he asked for educational resources. He went there for an education. He's there to debate. The difference between a lot of these guys, when they walk away, they think it's a power move. It's not really a power move because he just sees that as a win and a victory over them. Because a lot of them can't respond is a seen as a victory. So be careful with this when you ask open-ended questions towards these people, because he turned it around on him through the discussion of saying, I hope most women aren't dating unemployed men. But then that puts a lot of men in the same position he said, which is women don't want to date losers, he validated his talking point. And then when he realized he was losing, he left because he, again, was not qualified, but really no one is qualified to go into a debate, which is just a kill shot where you're murdering each other, really metaphorically and through analogies, which of course is a victory point that he gets to put up there, and now you look like a simpleton. But he's trying to push his validation of his agenda. So like you see, he's going to go to the next speaker because he's building up the fact that people think he's right, and then he's going to be on this pedestal, which now you're going to have to dethrone him on, which is going to be very difficult because he has his confidence in, which is then the same as a warrior who practiced before he kills the main gladiator, or the main warrior that's very tough and big, which is his Darwinistic approach that he's the strongest one mentally, which the brain is very big and powerful. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how this next runner-up is. Last guy kind of capitulated, which is unfortunate. Very careful when you go on thin ice. A lot of thin ice is built specifically to look a lot thicker and stronger until you sink in and you're now getting hypothermia, which is the kill shot, which Napoleon is a great example when he had a bunch of men run across a giant lake, which was strong enough to support the army, until you shoot some cannonballs and artillery into it, and now the entire army sink to the bottom. Kill shots. He's a warrior. Be very careful with these warriors. They know what they're doing.
Hey, what's up?
I was curious, where do you get your generalizations from? Because you're kind of talking
On what topic
me.
specifically?
Well,
I said a lot.
yeah, I gotcha. You're kind of talking about, like, it seems like to me you've spoken to every single woman on the planet. Because I know myself as a person, and I am antithetical to everything you're describing as.
Okay, so you would identify as a feminist, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
I think women.
Another word for feminist is equal. She believes that women are equal. She doesn't believe that women deserve less, which is why this is a complete contention of his book. Feminism is not that women think they're superior. It is not preach the dynamic that women think they deserve more. It is not the dynamic of them always pushing this ideology that they are the ones who should take over men, but rather showing you that if men can do it, they can too. Which means a lot of the time they are trying to say, not apologies, but a lot of women can take on a patriarchal role, which is where they dominate the men, which he thinks is pathetic, which is why he has a term for it. It's called simp, which of course it kind of confesses again, which it is a direct confession, that he believes the women can be equal, because the simp is kind of, in his perspective, someone who submits to a woman's will or strength, which is just a regular man, but he redefined them to give them inferiority complex or lesser dynamic, so they feel lesser as a man for respecting a woman and her beauty of her mind rather than her body, which means that instead of him using her for sex, he's using her for education, or using her for self-respect, or building himself up to be a better man, because now he's teaching himself what other men would see as feminine qualities, when really he's being taught how to be a better man, which of course is embarrassing for men like this because they're insecure and they gave themselves an inferiority complex. So you have to be very careful, because when you say you're a feminist, that activates a lot of men's insecurity to think that all women are trying to now put them in a submission role, and then that it's a role for sex, because men like this in the patriarchy said she's putting you in submission for sex, which is of course objectification and sexualization of women, which unfortunately when you come across discussions like this, a lot of women, and rightfully so, say it's sexual harassment just to talk about this, which unfortunately for a lot of women it's not, because a lot of these discussions are just educational and have to be had for a lot of people. Otherwise you're stuck in a situation where the men of patriarchy, which are always dominant and can always get out of trouble, can just talk their way out of pretty much anything through the perspective of, again, evolution.
Deserve rights.
Okay.
So my question that you haven't answered
go ahead.
was, how do you get your generalizations if you haven't spoken to every single woman on the planet? Because personally, I believe that stereotypes are incredibly harmful and not productive. Oh, yeah. What, your response? No,
I'll
go
let you
ahead.
finish
just
what you have to
laughed.
say.
Yeah, that's what
You're
I
done?
had to say.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is another, like, progressive ideology that's kind of retarded, and I'll explain what I mean by this.
Okay.
Stereotypes typically are rooted in
Very nice.
fact,
Very-
right? Like, that's what it is, right? Like,
Very helpful.
if you're walking down the street at night and you see, like, 3 black dudes walking towards you with Nike fleeces on, you're probably going to cross the street because you don't want to get mugged.
Ho! There it is. Yes, 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 yes. Kill shot, kill shot, kill shot. I'm sorry, but again, he's preaching being scared of black men and fleeces. He is pushing white supremacy patriarchy because he thinks it's normal to be scared of men of color. This is one of the things I always tell people to be careful of because his inferiority complex shows itself very prevalently in these discussions right here, where he says, as a woman, you have a right to be scared of men, which is going to play into her feminist mindset because he's setting her up again for a kill shot and ambush, or again, a very thin ice argument where she's going to think she has a right to be scared of men because he's pushing the feminist mindset. He's argued with feminists before. He knows a lot of them are scared of men for valid reasons, but then he pushes the dynamic of evolution, which is men are stronger than you. That's why you are scared of them. Be very careful. These guys are setting you up for failure. They're setting you up to lose. This is the equivalency when you're at a job. They'll give you a task you're not ready for. And then when you lose, he'll come in and get the promotion. And then he says he deserves it more. And then you're pushed down in the ranks. This is exactly why women get paid less, do not get elevated in a lot of situations. His perspective in and of itself is a warrior's mindset towards a warrior patriarchy, which is he dominates, therefore he gets to win everyone. You have to be very careful. I keep saying this as much as I can because his ideology as a whole is technically, in his idea, supported by thousands of years of conquering, which is raping, and pillaging, which is slaughtering, and raising, which is burning everything productive to the ground to build it up in his image and his perspective, which is, again, it's something the military does, is it breaks you down and then builds you back up in their image, which you're going to have to be careful because he's going to try and break down feminism right here, and I promise you he's going to give a lot of talking points that a lot of feminists have to argue with, and then you're going to have to build off of it because you're going to have to break him down and build him back up in the image of what he wants you to be, which is Darwinism. So he's going to probably either play vulnerable, which is he's going to listen and then try and tell you you're right, you're absolutely right, because she's going to play the identity that women are weak and deserve more respect and deserve more, which he's going to say you deserve less because men get nothing. Thin ice, very thin ice. He puts you on a very thin ice dynamic.
Right? If you want to hire a lawyer after getting arrested, you're probably going to hire a Jewish lawyer, right? You know, Asians are going to be good at math and do your algebra homework. So it's like...
So you've spoken to every minority on the fucking planet?
Okay, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule.
Right.
But the world operates on generalities. So that's just how it is. Actually, you know what? This is interesting. This is something that women have a tough time understanding, actually. I'm glad. This is a perfect example of what I mean. Mm-hmm. So women have a problem with generalities, especially if it doesn't apply to them. So, like, let's say, for example, I say something like, yeah, a lot of these girls are sluts, or a lot of these girls are dumb. A girl will say, well, I'm not. Like, okay, cool, but that still doesn't override the fact that a majority are. So
what is
generalizations? Generalizations is how the world works.
Right, but where is your data? I'm asking for where you get
okay,
those
what specific point do you have a contention with that you want me to?
I don't think all girls are sluts. Or
I
most
never said all girls are sluts.
I'm sorry. I don't think most girls are sluts.
A lot of them are.
Okay, I would love your argument.
Okay, so women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have way more sexual access than men do. Okay.
How so?
What was that?
How so?
Because women are still getting laid while men don't. So what does that show? That shows that women are having sex with the same small percentage of guys, pretty much. Like their sex, their.
But where are you getting this information? Because I can pull anecdotal information out of my ass
There's many different studies that show this, whether it's like the Family Studies Institute, or which deals with female promiscuity or whatever. The point is, I'm trying to say is that women have more sexual access than men. And since they have more sexual access to men, they're far more likely to be promiscuous. And a lot of girls are promiscuous. Now, is that every single girl? No. But I do think that men need to adapt to the new normal where a lot of women are promiscuous. And you probably don't want to commit to these girls long-term as a guy because that's going to create problems for you. Because we've seen studies where the higher a woman's notch count, right, or sexual partner history, the higher the likelihood of divorce or a failed marriage. Because women don't respond the same to sex as men do. For us, it's like taking a piss. For you guys, it's like, you know, a big deal.
Okay, great generalization.
Because
So
women
what
have far
I
more
w-
biological investment in sex. You guys can get pregnant. We don't. So that's what I'm trying to say.
So what would you say to men committing the most violence and sexual violence in America? Like how does that play into women?
That's
like
a completely different topic.
how so? Because you're talking about how women bad this, women bad that, women sluts.
I never said woman bad.
Do you don't think your rhetoric like perpetuates that? Like you don't think like the culture of men are agreeing with your points and going out and making these generalizations of saying I hate women? Women deserve less.
Yes, and that's precisely what women respond favorably to. Yes.
Right. So that's your only generalization you're going to.
Yeah, women don't respond favorably to nice guys. So therefore, when you meet a girl and you're seeing her, you can't give her everything and
I would love your
pedestalize
argument
her.
for that.
I'm sorry?
I would love your argument for that.
That nice guys finish last?
Yeah.
That's what you're asking? Like nice guys finish last?
Yes, I would love to hear it.
Okay. I mean, I think it's kind of common sense that
Common
nice
sense,
guys
that's
get
not
friend
an
zoned.
explanation.
What was that?
Common sense isn't an explanation.
Okay.
Like, just get to the point, please.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I have a job. I know you don't like that, but
You should be in a kitchen somewhere. That'd be a good job.
Yeah.
But anyway.
see, like everyone laughing at that. Like, you don't think that's an issue?
Because you're just not accepting like a very. This is like common sense.
Common sense.
Nice guys don't do well with women because nice guys pedestalize females. This is repulsive because women don't want a guy that pedestalizes them.
So-
they want a guy that they're chasing the validation of. They want a guy who feels better than them. So if I meet a girl and I pedestalize her and give her everything off rip, that implies that I see her value as higher than mine.
How?
And that is completely unattractive
How
to
is
females.
treating someone with kindness? You're mistaking that.
I'm not
for
saying not to be. I'm
simping.
not saying not to be kind. I'm saying don't give her the world and be a simp. Big difference.
What do you see as giving a girl of the world?
Contacting her too much, taking her out on expensive dates right away, giving her money, any of this stuff. Like, see, and this is the thing. Since you're a female, you don't understand these dynamics
woman.
because you don't have to deal with women. But for guys, this is a very real dynamic where guys have to come into a relationship and preserve attraction by not being a nice guy. Because women don't
That's
respond
not
favorably to nice
true.
guys.
I
What you
have
say you
dated
want versus
men.
what you
Like,
respond
I
to.
can use anecdotal evidence as well. And, when I've dated or spoken.
See how he does the over expression of his emotion? Like, ugh. He's not actually mad. He is calm and collected. See this face he's putting up? That's like someone going, oh no, I'm dying. And they look up and they go for the kill. He knows what's being set up because he said you should be in the kitchen, and he smiled and then he drank his water because he knows what's about to happen is about to get her frustrated, flustered, and then he can play the, oh, I'm down, oh, I'm upset. And then she's going to push too much into this viewpoint that a lot of them already have dismantled so incredibly, which is why he's going off dating off nice men, because he heard the laughter of the men nearby. Now he's going over the tribalistic thinking. He's going over mob justice or lynching, which is why this is pretty much a kill. And she's very, very emotional, which is unfortunate because she's met a lot of misogynistic men. She appealed to the crowd too, which means she's trying to play the crowd rather than him, which is not going for the actual kill shot. She's trying to get support from the group behind her, which is not going to support her because she's already in a dynamic of an ambush. This is already a setup for a misogynistic circle to be understanding of men and women arguing about a lot of patriarchal norms, which, if you understand the war against patriarchy, is the majority of men, which is why when women approach with caution, a lot of the times they already know this talking point is going to be very contentious, which is of course why he's setting this up again, because he knows for a fact that a lot of these people are going to get upset at him because they are justifiably upset. However, if you're going to fight in gladiator sports like debates, he's going to set you up for a kill shot. Watch very carefully. Look at his face. It's mischievous. He knows what he's doing. Please pay attention to this.
To men, I prefer the men who don't give the bullshit rhetoric that you give.
Okay, so you dated nice guys before?
I've dated kind men, yes.
Okay, so where are they now then?
Where are they now? Living their lives?
Where are they now? Victimhood. He's trying to say you throw them away. He's again pushing this idea that she's on his side. She just doesn't know it. She thinks she's better than those men and throws away the good guys and won't stay by one good man. He's pushing that if you treat a woman with respect and dignity, you don't deserve the women because the women will use you the same way he uses women, or she's over there. But he uses women just for their body. And so if you're a good guy, you're going to be used just for your body and then thrown away because good guys are disgusting over time because he is, again, encapsulating this dynamic of just using people rather than respecting them as a human being, because he doesn't understand the concept of you still being friends after a breakup, or the concept of respecting someone or still loving someone non-sexually and just loving them as a human being. He wants to push the idea that every single person they're associated with is only good for sex, and the good nature of which that the person has is not respected. This is a dynamic again that a lot of men push because they're going to go for the insecurity of the crowd while going for her insecurity at the same time, to show that her insecurity validates the men's insecurity, which is her insecurity is the very clear notion of being uncomfortable talking about her sex life, uncomfortable talking about her romantic partners, and then her educational factor being, isn't this a problem? Help me, which is unfortunately the victimhood mindset, which a lot of people have in accordance to inferiority complex, which is installed again by the patriarchy, which again, you're going to see her unfortunately here be lined up for an ambush. It's unfortunate.
Exactly.
I
Point
have
proven.
one right now. Like,
Point proven. Like,
no, it's not a point proven because
Point
you
proven.
have value differences. Doesn't mean that I said, oh,
Value
wow,
differences.
they're an awful man because they took me out on expensive dates and I feel like that someone should value me less. Like, what? Why is that? Why should I believe that?
that's fine. Look, you don't have to believe what I'm saying.
I know.
Because you're not a man. But once again,
How does that
privilege is
go?
invisible to those that have it. You don't understand what it takes to be attractive as a guy because everything is handed to you as a female. You don't have to worry
Not
about
everything is handed to me as a female.
approaching, learning to be attractive, making a bunch of money, having status, having a commanding voice, speaking in the active voice. Like, this is stuff that women don't have to worry about.
Do you
or
think
learn.
I have men at my feet, like paying my rent and, you know, giving me an education and giving me job opportunities?
Well, the point is that you can. You doesn't mean that you're
That's not true.
You okay? Really?
If it were true, every woman would be going through that.
A lot of them do. Now, just because you don't seize the opportunity doesn't mean that other women don't do it, or better yet, that they don't have the opportunity. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying you can. That's the big distinction. You
Okay.
can.
I have been rage baited by you for about an hour, and your arguments have zero substance. So enjoy
Zero
your
what?
sandwiches.
Zero what you said?
I will be gone.
Okay, there you go. It's
Another one defeated. The doe has died. The hunter has won. He sees himself as a victorious man, yelling upon his giant hill he built out of rocks himself. And a bunch of women he threw away. Ah, dear Jesus. All right, this looks like the man, the runner-up. Male feminist. Never mind, it might be on one of his fans. We'll see.
triggered women as usual. All right. What's up, man?
Hey, so I think the general consensus about like your demographic, maybe like men like college age, like who we have here. And my question is, what are your opinions on modern day behaviors that are generally considered masculine, like hopping on steak, doing peptides, doing hopping on gear, and yeah, just counterproductive behaviors that are technically considered masculine that are being reinforced by social media.
Are you talking about men
yeah,
in
about men.
particular?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am anti-gambling, anti-drug. I don't think men should use steroids ever. You know, it's just not worth it. Gambling is the worst. Alcohol, no. Weed, no. I mean, people might say I'm straight edge or whatever, but yeah, I don't believe in gambling, drugs, alcohol, or any of that bullshit. It'll just ruin your life. And as a guy, you can't afford to not be productive. Like your sexual market value as a guy is based on your productivity, your ambition, and your future. Like doing all that stuff will just, hinder you.
Okay. And my last thing is I've noticed like your tone towards women is sort of aggressive, but I just want to put it out there that we are all sinners. God made us perfect, but it was part of our own will that we became imperfect when Adam ate the apple. And the greatest gift to man was God giving his son to die on the cross for us. And I just want to put it out there that Jesus loves you.
All right.
I don't know why he put that in there. I think he tried to put that. He said you're aggressive toward women, and then try to put his naivety up there. He's building his confidence. It's like simple kills. Kill a couple rabbits, you go for the buffalo.
Don't forget that Eve took the apple and fucked it all up for all of us. So don't forget that either. What's up, man?
Hey, Myron. I just want to say thank you for people like you, Nick, Sneeko, Justin Waller, for being an inspiration for young men in today's society. I think that what people take out of your podcast and they clip it and they make something.
Notice that he's saying thank you, but he's Eurocentric white male. He benefits regardless of his ideology. This society's built for him. So again, he's trying to show support. Look, guys, I'm not just tearing people down, but people like me. So pay attention to his audience. Like who supports him. A lot of times misguided. A lot of the times, a lot of them lack the concepts of freedom of thinking. A lot of the names he gave, some of these guys are self-confessed Nazis. And they don't like people of color, and then they say shit like, oh no, I actually support people of color. You misinterpret what I'm saying. I'll cover that in the immigration video where Myron talks about immigration to just really break down how racist these guys are. But there's a reason why a lot of them get banned off TikTok and make limited videos, because if they talked about it, they get silenced or censored, which is why he's called Uncensored America, because a lot of these talking points existed already and white men already won a long time ago, which is why a lot of white men just are tired of hearing it. They heard it from their grandpa or grandpeepaw, and they're just tired of hearing it. They heard it at dinner tables and Thanksgiving. They heard it all the time. They're tired at the barbecue hearing the drunk uncle who got divorced screaming at them saying women ain't shit. They should be in the kitchen. They should be making sandwiches. So remember, a lot of these guys grow up. This is a college. So just pay attention.
Bad of you, but I think what you're doing is amazing in today's society, and we need more people like you. And also, what would you say about like colleges promoting, fraternities based on degeneracy, and just like getting people to go out at their prime ages of 18, 19, 20 to go out and binge drink and just kind of just waste their years away in college and go down a very dark path?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who went to college myself, I was an athlete in college. That kept me away from a lot of the bullshit. But yeah, I mean, we have to be honest that college is, for a lot of people, not all, but for a lot of students, is just an acceptable way to spend 4 years being a degenerate, right? Yeah. So I think for the guys, in such a competitive marketplace, guys really need to get on their P's and Q's in a very competitive job market. Degrees aren't going as far as they were before. Inflation is through the roof. I mean, I remember when I went to school. Oh man, I'm showing my age here. I went to Northeastern in Boston. It was like $35K a year. Now it's like 70 to 80K. And I was like, I graduated in 2013. I'm really showing my age here. Yeah. But yeah, it's. I think guys can't really afford to fuck up in college nowadays. Yeah. And do you since it's so expensive.
Do you think it's a control mechanism for people to, fit into society by getting hazed and,
Say that again. Do I think it's a what?
Oh, a control mechanism for people to join a frat and do degeneracy things to fit into society.
We have so many things in society that are control mechanisms, like watching sports, gambling, drugs, alcohol.
What do you call praising men that you've never even met in your life and wearing a jersey number, or wearing a jersey that if you were in the hospital, let's say, and you cheer and you scream and you rant for these players, they wouldn't even pay your hospital bill. I mean, so what are you doing screaming and ranting about players that would never even give a fuck about you in the first place?
That they want you to be plugged into the matrix, right? They want you to have a job where you make just enough to survive, so you can go drink on the weekends, have your Budweiser as you're watching a game, do the same thing over and over again, and not really look at the world at, how it really operates. So, it's a slave mind, dude. Yeah. As my buddy Andrew Tate says, you got to resist the slave mind. And unfortunately, a lot of guys have the slave mind.
And my last question, would you also say processed foods like ingredients such as canola oil, corn syrup, and other ingredients are dumbing people down and also basically controlling them at the same time?
Yeah, there's a multitude of things that are making people stupider. The internet, social media usage. A lot of guys have problems with communicating and getting their thoughts out there effectively. COVID, I think, accelerated that, made it worse. But yeah, there's just so many things that have made people stupider. You can make arguments about the food. We don't really, having higher IQ isn't considered cool. A lot of times, oh, you're a nerd. So there's so many different things that play into why people are stupider.
I just want to say, 100 years ago, if you were to say these things, it would be socially acceptable.
Oh yeah,
it's just clown world what we live in today. But
yeah, I feel sorry for you guys because you guys are growing up kind of in a woke era, dude. I remember when you used to be able to call people and nobody cared. Yeah. But nowadays it's oh God.
Last thing, sorry. Do you think in 10 to 15 years, you think you'll see an increase of expansion to Eastern Europe in terms of Poland and?
We did see a little bit when Trump came into office. We did get some more free speech.
No, but I'm talking about people moving to Eastern Europe in terms of more freedom, and you don't really have these policies as you do in the West, as you do in Eastern Europe. Or more.
Say that again. You're
sorry.
really low.
So these guys are pushing a lot of like old school propaganda. It looks like they're teetering on a lot of anti-Semitic talking points, which is this like, why can't I say slurs? Why can't I talk about sports mind controlling me or the media mind controlling me? Which is a reference to a lot of the Hitlerian mindset perspectives. Not saying he's a Nazi, not saying he's anti-Semitic, but a lot of those narratives and those concepts do get watered down and then integrated back into our society where it's given to a lot more people that are gradients out of the anti-Semitism or racism, which is still fighting for patriarchy and white supremacy. But again, they're getting angry that there's like people who like sports. They're angry that people in association with athletes that are not going to pay for you. They don't like the idea of idol worship, which is the concept of looking up to men who are not productive or not truly seen as really good men in society. And you should look up to a lot more of the political standpoints or the men that make businesses and productive concepts, which is going to go into the mindset of grind set. Uh, Push yourself to your limits and make as much money as you can, as well as this weird mindset where he's talking about like chemicals controlling you. So it goes into like a lot of these brain pills that don't actually work. They're like pseudoscience. They just wanted you to take some vitamin A, whatever the new vitamin out. It's probably the mercury that they're pushing back in the day that killed so many people is just poison, by the way, that don't take mercury. But the concept is then again, they push these agendas like snake oil salesmen. And the snake oil salesman is that they're just telling you these agendas that they kind of try to play. You're under control, you're under a mind control, you're being hypnotized, but it's just propaganda, which is a form of hypnosis. But if you turn off the programming, you get education instead and critical thinking and actual resources that are founded in actual factual data and tested continuously. You can see again that anyone can be controlled by anything or anyone as a person's perspective ideology. He's going back to evolution and the beginning of evolution, which is why he can validate any narrative being controlling, because he even confessed it, that the entire perspective of being in a forest is you are impressioned by your environment. And that's just a basic MCAT understanding of health, and understanding that if you studied health and biology, you'd understand evolution as a more cellular impression of the environment, which is how you get colds or sickness and how you can also be healthy. So remember, a lot of this data he's telling you can make you sick, and because it's snake oil. And then another data is this is actually a cure, which they'll call a tincture, but is now an elixir, but is now a medicine. Evolution of fantasy into reality, which and then making you sick is just lies and toxic behavior.
Moving to Eastern Europe, where there's actually more freedom, in terms of countries like Poland and other right-leaning countries.
You're saying we have more freedom than them?
No, I'm saying, like, do you think people will be moving there in the next 10, 15 years? In terms of also real estate going up in value in terms of those countries.
Yeah, no, expatriates is a growing thing, dude.
Yeah.
The passport bro movement is real.
Yeah.
Like, guys are definitely getting the fuck out of America. Yeah. That's very, very real.
Yeah.
And I've seen it explode over the past 10 plus years. I remember when like Rouge V was writing books on it. Mm-hmm. Now it's like the norm, dude. Being a passport bro used to be like a very like niche underground thing. Mm-hmm. Now it's in the mainstream, dude.
All right.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Myron. Appreciate it.
No worries, man.
Again, I predicted it. He's going to Poland, it sounds like, because he says Poland's more right-wing leaning. And do you think people are moving there? It's, again, right-wing concepts of just white supremacy. He's pushing white supremacy. Sorry, but Poland has a lot of people screaming at black people and screaming the N-word, but they also have a lot of right-wing fascism there growing, which is, again, growing in times of war because they're scared. And in times of fear, they go to the strongest leader, which goes back to the evolutionary theory, which is they're going to the strongest leader, which is going to be a patriarchal white male.
Thank you.
Myron, we got a insult shut over here. Good to speak to you. Earlier you said that you think that men should be able to cheat. I actually think that adulterers should be hung in the streets. I don't. Maybe at worst, life in prison. But I don't. Especially if you have children involved. I think no matter who's doing the cheating and the person who is like, if you're getting with someone who's married and you're single, you should also be punished in that sense. This isn't what I wanted to Kim say, but I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, my thoughts are on this. Now, if you want to be monogamous I'm assuming you're coming from a religious perspective, right?
I am, yeah.
So, if you want to be monogamous for religious purposes and it's a choice, that's different. But my thing is, a lot of guys cope. They're monogamous by force because they're afraid of their girlfriend leaving them or their wife. So, they end up being at her beck and call and they're terrified to lose her. My thing is, I want guys to be in a position where they can choose to be monogamous. And unfortunately, most men don't have that privilege. They're hanging on, to their relationship with their girl by, the skin of their teeth. So that's my issue. I want guys to be monogamous by choice, not by force.
Okay. And what I really wanted to come up here and talk to you about is you mentioned earlier about repealing the 19th, and you think that men are granted the right to vote by birth and women should earn it. I actually think we should be more restrictive about that. I think that not everyone.
The right to vote?
Yeah, even if you're a man, I don't think you should necessarily be granted the right to vote. I think, like you said, you need to have skin in the game, and I wanted to know if you
Yeah, I
share
mean, you
that
could have them
opinion.
take a civics test or something like that, but my bottom line is like, you know, for men, cool, we could put parameters in there or whatever. My main thing is like, I just don't think women should have the automatic, you know, ability to vote right off rip like they do right now, where they have no responsibility over, they have authority, but they don't have any responsibility to armed services.
Would you like to chat about where we should draw the line for just anyone for the right to vote, as if?
I would say for men, I mean, you can implement maybe a civics test, maybe a year or two of mandatory military service. You know, there's different things that you can do that you can explore.
What about people like that who still don't have as much of a stake in society, or they benefit from the degradation of society, even if they pass their civics test and they do their...
All right, so what parameters did you want to instill?
I believe that you should have children as a parameter to vote, because you already invested in the future of the society if you have a child, at least one. I think that you should have land as well. If you don't have a child, you should have a business, not necessarily land, but a business with at least 2 employees. And I think military service is a big one. If you're willing to voluntarily go into the military, I think that should give you the right to vote. But I don't think that everyone should have the right to vote.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, putting parameters on it, you know, because there's a lot of dudes that are retards too.
Yeah.
But again, I'm starting like at base level 0. And
Base
then
level, yeah, 'cause that's where we are
obviously
right
you can
now.
build up from
Yeah.
there and add parameters on the male side too. But the point I'm trying to say is like at bare 0, like it shouldn't be women have the right to vote right there.
Okay, this is just a simplistic thing. He's ending it on a keynote that he's talking to people who are more extreme than him, and that he's just trying to push that thing and understand more. If you want to see what the inferiority complex is specifically, because again, the patriarchy builds itself off of enslavement of black and brown men, the conquistador mindset mixed in with the English, and the white men pushing Christian Protestant ideology mixed in with the theocratic perspective, which we turned secular to escape that mindset. You're gonna have to check out my other videos on my channel. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because I will be posting a lot more. These guys are one of the biggest enemies in my perspective of my ideology, which is equality for all. Equality means it's your responsibility to educate someone who is not educated. Because of that, I do believe that these gladiator sports should be an educated factor that a lot of people know it. They're lining you up to shoot you down. And a lot of this is a setup, and they do take advantage of simple people. So if you ever get into a debate, just be mindful again. They might be educated people trying to talk to you, or they might be educated people trying to take you out in a fight. Thank you for watching.